Let's play a game. Can you guess what class I'm talking about? Hint number 1, they usually deal the most damage. Hint number 2, they generally deal even more damage than that. Hint number 4, they're bad at counting and talking and generally thinking. Hint number next one, door are for smash and impromptu shield at best. Hint number You know what I'm talking about, right? That's right, we're talking about everybody's favorite plot development and party nightmare, the big oafs themselves, the Barbarian. Not only that, we're going to be building one, the best one we can. How many D20s can we slap on a big sword? How many swords can we attach to that sword? How much damage can we soak up? And what can we sacrifice to get more swords on our swords? Let's break down how a Utopia TTRPG Barbarian would look and just how crazy they can get. You have no idea. I received a challenge from Tales from Elsewhere Games and Odin's Key Gaming. Their links will be below. They're hosting an event called Let's Get Barbaric. Me and several other developers will be using our own systems to design our Barbarian archetype. When I heard this, I was ecstatic. I talk all the time about how Utopia's main premise is customization. What I don't talk about, and what some astute players and potentially troublemakers have discovered, is how gnarly you can get if you really bend these rules to your whims. You can get some very high risk, high reward builds in this game if you choose to hyper specialize. And what better way to do that than to design the beefiest boy we possibly can? You know, I think this ties pretty well into another topic. Stick around. I may just spoil some things about Utopia's first expansion. If you haven't played Utopia TTRPG before, you can grab the prototype for free. The links will be in the description. As well, if you're looking for a crash course, you can check the card right here. Less than 30 minutes, easy peasy. The system has custom spells, custom creatures, custom species, custom items, all in the vanilla core rules, all stuff that you can craft in session. The final copy just ended pre-order and shipments will be going out spring of 2025. After all that good stuff, it'll be available online. Alright, time to smack things. Our goal is to build a Barbarian. Let's break that down a bit. When somebody tells me Barbarian, I think of 3 things. Number 1 and 2 are both high DPS, or damage per second. Number 3 is sustain, not necessarily being tanky, but being good at surviving, whether that be regaining health, having a ton of health, or avoiding losing health. Whatever it takes, the point is stay alive as long as possible to assure maximum destruction. However, if it comes to sacrificing health, I will prioritize output. Now, to focus the least amount possible on how the species affects the class of sorts, I will be using a human. However, I won't be using any species abilities. You can play Utopia with custom species or without a species at all. Human is just the best generic option to shine more on the Barbarian aspect of things, in my opinion. With that in mind, let's take a look at how Utopia's system interacts with the potential archetype. It's kind of funny, Utopia is advertised as a classless system, which it totally is. Trying to reverse engineer it to create a class-based character is actually really fascinating to me. Instead of classes, we'll be getting new abilities through talent trees. There are 6 core talent trees. We'll also have access to 1 species tree and a number of specialist talents. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be ignoring these species talents, so we just need these 6 bad boys. The specialist talents, however, will be very important to us. These guys kind of interact like feats in D&D. You get a new specialist talent every 10 levels. Since you generally start at level 10, we'll start with at least 1. Some have prerequisites, some don't. Between the 6 core talent trees, each one has a theme of sorts. Without going into too much detail, I think we'll make good use out of the big red one that screams, I would like to kill things and potentially people depending on my mood at an increased efficiency. I don't know, what do you think? I have to admit, I'm kind of a sucker for thematics, so step 1 for me is thinking up this character in my head. I'm going to use an image I think we can all resonate with, an Amazonian warrior type, potentially even a Valkyrie. I will name her Barbra. And before you ask, yes, this is precisely so I can use the joke Barbrarian sometime later in the video, thank you. I see Barbra with a great sword and no shield, maybe some headgear and boots, but ultimately we're not looking for protection. Barbra wants mobility and damage output, so we only care about armor and equipment that serves those purposes. However, we're not opposed to, say, some healing. Now, as I was saying this, I assume that you were imagining a high fantasy setting, maybe Norse mythology, maybe even ancient magical times, but I have a trick up my sleeve. I'm quirky. I'm sorry. Let's break the mold a bit and move over to the mid-tone setting. We'll introduce some sci-fi with our high fantasy. Utopia is huge on being able to handle both settings, so let's do just that. AKA, Barbra is not opposed to holding a giant stick nor a blaster rifle. Gotta keep our options open. With all of that in mind, I think we're going to make a relatively high-level character. In Utopia, it's hard to really pin down an archetype right at level 10. A lot of it comes with how the character develops and progresses over the course of the game. For that reason, I'll be tacking on talents and reverse engineering her level afterwards. That way we're not too limited. Okay, Barbra, are you ready? I hope not too ready, because I need to shamelessly plug my YouTube channel for a second. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Huh? No, what do you mean? No, it's not that shameless. I just say shameless because it's funny. What? Was it really that bad? Okay, listen, you don't have to be mean about it. Okay, you don't have to subscribe if you don't want. I'm sorry. Okay, big red talent tree. This tree is called Warfare, and it'll be Barbra's bread and butter. Starting with this left side, we'll take... Yeah, we'll take all of them. First is Cleave. When we make a melee attack, we can carve through them and into the next. Yes, please. Thank you. Brawler? Better at grappling? Yeah, that please. Charger? Reduce cost if we run at them? Absolutely stunning. Blitzer? We can spin around and hit everybody in range instead of just a single duder? You're too sweet. Okay, glad that was settled. What about that center line? Okay, this is like a candy shop and I'm like a child. I don't want to just make God, so I'll limit myself. Instead of taking every single talent, I'll go ahead and just grab talents up to recovery. Swift strikes and hasty attacks do similar things. One is just an upgrade to the other. Essentially, if we have both of them, we can reduce the number of turn actions required to attack with beefy weapons at the cost of stamina. In Utopia, you have 6 turn actions. A weapon can cost anywhere from 1 to 6 turn actions to attack with. These talents say that they cost no more than 2 turn actions if we try really hard, aka pay an entire IKEA warehouse's worth of stamina, but that's fine. That's a problem for future Barbra. Recovery, on the other hand, allows us to convert our useless pool of health points and convert it into delicious stamina. It sounds like a bad trade, but actually, shut up, I want to hit things more. Perfect. Looking at the right side of the Warfare tree, I only see 2 talents that fit Barbra all that much: Sniper and Titan Slayer. Sniper allows us to treat ranged weapons as if they're always using close range. This essentially means that we can shoot things and throw things with much better accuracy even at a long distance. Titan Slayer gives us favor when scaling big creatures, which is perfect. Barbra doesn't care if you're big, small, wide, narrow. The point is that you're dead now. All right, I've had my fun. Let's see some other trees too. Realistically, with this spread of talents, we don't have a massive stamina pool to work with. There's 2 ways to get more stamina: have a high endurance or take mind-based talents. Endurance is hard set to 5 for us since we're humans. There is a talent that can increase it, and we'll get to that. However, mind-based talents aren't too awfully hard to come by. As of right now, we have... Oh, our mind score is 0. Yeah, no, we're gonna need those pretty bad. All right, let's see what we've got. We need to go down innovation. This may sound weird, but hear me out. Innovation is the tree that allows you to craft custom items. The center line specifically allows you to craft items of higher and higher rarity. The more rare an item gets, the more features and abilities we can put on it. So, Barbra make big bonk? We're going to take the first 3 talents from the center, the innovation tree, allowing us to craft up to rare items. And to make sure our endurance is as high as possible, we'll go all the way down to the center of the prowess tree. The prowess tree has a ton of generically useful talents. This specific line will give us extra sub-trait points, another gifted sub-trait, and then of course, another point in endurance. Absolutely massive. In case you haven't heard of them, sub-traits are basically the scores you use when doing generically difficult tasks. Doing a backflip, we'll check your stunt score. Looking to be a barbarian, infinity +2 power, easy dubs. And I think we're looking good. Let's recap. Based on our spread of talents, our Barbrarian will be level 48. That's actually a pretty mid-level character, I'd say. It's not really scraping the ceiling of Utopia's content in any way. I mean, as you saw, we took a chunk of one tree and tidbits from 2 others. However, this is a very seasoned character for sure. Barbra will have a total health pool of 243, that's a lot, and 126 stamina to play with. That's actually pretty decent for our purposes. Some stamina replenishment would help a lot, but you regain stamina pretty freely outside of combat. So as long as Barbra takes a 2-minute tea break between committing crimes against humanity, we are good. Here's how I see her. Barbra is a galactic veteran of sorts. She travels from planet to planet nomadically. She'll find herself a home in a lush area, reap its resources to sustain herself, conquer its wildlife, gain access to a new set of tools and assets based on what the planet has for her, and then continue on. She uses a massive two-handed broadsword made of stone. It's massive and bulky, but she can swing it in only 2 seconds flat back to back, carve through enemies even, making her an absolute berserker in fights. As a backup weapon, she has a blaster rifle that she looted from a marauder some time back. Her armor includes some jet boots, a stone helm that protects her from psychic attacks, and a thick totem around her neck that prevents people from being able to use divination on her. Her steps are loud, but she leaves no tracks. This was so much fun. It was really cool pushing the system and molding it to an existing archetype. It's about time I finally make a video about creating a specific character. Archetypes are actually a huge part of Utopia's first expansion. I created this character heavily based on one of the archetype trees slated for the next volume. That archetype is called the Zealot. I considered creating a Warden, which is also an archetype planned for the next book, but I felt that Zealots would be much closer to the heart of the idea. Thank you so much to Tales from Elsewhere Games and Odin's Key Gaming for coming up with such a cool idea. Please show them some love through the links below. Honestly, really awesome. They'll be going through each submission live at the end of February. Barbra is probably going to end up being a canon character if I'm not careful. I didn't go over what her exact items do, but you can click the cards on screen if you're interested in checking out the video about how to customize and design items in Utopia. Otherwise, there's some other videos you may be interested in. My favorite video is the subscribe button. I highly recommend clicking it. Don't worry, I'm completely unbiased. And of course, thanks.